94.9 The Palm, Sloane Spencer hanging out with y'all on the Morning Dive, joined by telephone with someone who has had such an interesting career throughout the world of the arts. I didn't even know where to start on the conversation. Good morning.
Hi, Sloane. Good to be here.
Thank you for joining us. So tell us who you are and whatever you choose to share about your life in music.
Well, my name is Gina Bacon, or people call me by all three names, Gina Frary Bacon. And I live in Nashville, and I've sort of landed in the middle of the music community here. And one thing led to another. I'm not a musician, but somehow all roads led to me having a radio show where I have people come in and play live, and I highlight a lot of local artists to try to get them out on the airwaves.
So you have a really unique position, both literally and in the world of music, of having access to amazing artists and creative folks, but you also have some major technical chops to make this happen.
Well, I've kind of figured it out by the seat of my pants. My background was video production, which helped only in that I'm not intimidated by the head scratching that goes along with figuring out what cable you need to make, this thing plug into that thing and make it all work. I started out on a little radio station, a community station here where we had a studio. But for the last year, I've been streaming from home. So I had to figure out. I go back and forth between my home and my friend Manuel Delgado's guitar studio. He graciously lets me set up there once a week, and I set everything up and break it down every Saturday so I can have live music. But now that we're all quarantined, I'm doing it from home.
So you definitely had more technical skills to make this happen than most of us did. We come back, we're going to talk more with, I think of you as Gina Frary Bacon as well, with Gina Frary Bacon, about how she's made this happen both independently and continuing to help elevate the art that is around her in the Nashville community. So stick around, y'all. Lots more on the way at 94.9 The Palm. So hanging out with y'all on the Deep Dive Special Edition, talking with Gina Frary Bacon from Nashville. So you have connections with so many amazing musicians in that community, and you've been able to highlight them through a special show.
Yes, it's funny. It's all sort of a happy accident. I always say, I feel like Dorothy waking up in Oz. I sort of found myself in the midst of this community, and the idea was, well, so many musicians, maybe you can bring them in and interview them, and that seemed like a great idea, and that kind of morphed into live performances. And because it's such a small community, sort of one friendship will lead to another, one connection leads to another. And it's been great for me because I've had Mary Gaucher and Jim Lauderdale in, and John Langford, and then, for all those people, I bring in somebody that maybe people haven't heard of, and it gives me a chance to highlight them and get their stuff out there as well. So I've just been so lucky because these people have been so gracious to me since I came to Nashville, and it's a nice way for me to be able to sort of return my gratitude to them, get them out into the world a little bit.
Definitely, and you also have a great ear for knowing who is just making amazing music that maybe doesn't have that same level of community behind them yet as Mary Gaucher or Jim Lauderdale. Who've been some of the wonderful discoveries?
Well, let's see. Kristen Englands, who has an album out now, she's from Atlanta but relocated to Nashville a few years ago. One of those people, I had seen around, and she's been very supportive of other artists and sings backup for people like Brian Wright and John Latham. And she came out with this album, and it was like getting hit with a ton of bricks. It was just so good and unexpectedly great because she's so unassuming, when you meet her. And I love it when that happens, when people are sort of like shot out of a cannon and take you by surprise like that. Nashville is just full of people like that. Another one of my favorites was the band Sweet Lizzie Project, who is a Cuban band that came back over here when Ron Malo and the Mavericks went to Cuba to shoot their special. They met this young group, and it's really a rock band. They do sort of a slightly Cuban flavored, pretty heavy rock music. And I brought them in early on, and they pretty much blew out the speakers. I mean, but, a huge band, and it was a huge setup. And I'm lucky because Hannah Fairlight, who's also another artist who's got an album out, is my sound person when things like that. She's been working as my engineer just very graciously out of the goodness of her heart. So she can come in a situation like that and figure out how to, get 17 inputs into my little 8-channel mixer. So it's always a challenge, and it's always exciting and different. And I certainly miss it. Streaming from my house has been very peaceful, but I really do miss the element of live music because, like you, I love to go hear a lot of live shows. So I love to be able to bring that to the airwaves and share it with people.
Absolutely. So when we come back, I want to talk more about what you've been doing since we've all been staying at home. And of course, Nashville kicked all of this off with a massive tornado just beforehand. So lots more to talk about as we come back with Gina Frary Bacon in just a moment. Meanwhile, we're going to stay true to the music on 94.9 The Palm. Great conversation with a wonderful behind-the-scenes person in the world of music in Nashville, Gina Frary Bacon. So as we've talked with a lot of my Nashville friends over the last 8 weeks, you know that they kicked off their COVID-19 experience the week before with a massive tornado. So things have been a little crazy there for a while.
They have, and it's such a strange time here because the tornado recovery really it wasn't stopped, but it was certainly slowed. And some of the last shows that we had here and that I attended were benefits, people coming back to town and doing benefits to raise money for the tornado victims. And really, after about a week of that, the COVID-19 thing came along and all that had to be shut down. So people are sort of stuck between wanting to help, needing help, and now being out of work and trying to raise money to pay the rent and stuff. It's such a tough time for musicians here in Nashville right now, as it is for a lot of people. But Nashville really did have the double whammy because a lot of the venues, in the Five Points area were destroyed or affected. And something like the 5-spot opened for exactly one night after the tornado. They got their power back and they were able to open one night, and they did a benefit, and then they had to close again. Yeah. So it's been really tough.
Yeah, and for our listeners, you all remember we had, before COVID-19, but post-tornado, we talked with a couple of folks from the Basement East, the one where I had posted the picture of the building that had fallen in and I believe in Nashville, was still standing. So that'll refresh your memories about just how crazy that was and how in some ways being out of that area, it's almost out of our minds. But so you've been, meanwhile, continuing to do a different version of your show from home.
I do, and since now I have the full 2 hours, usually an hour of that would be dedicated to the live performance, but people are still releasing music. I know a lot of people have held off. They're waiting to see what happens because in order to monetize their releases, normally they would go on the road and sell merch and sell CDs, and they're not able to do that now. So I spend a good deal of my time kind of sniffing around to see who's got something out that needs to be put out into the world. And so what I do is put together my playlist, and then, inevitably on Friday, all the new releases come out. So I have to pull it all apart and put it back together again. But it gives me the opportunity to shine a light on it because that's sort of my mission. I think, I would really love for you to hear this new release by this person. I know they may not get play on commercial radio. They can't tour. So here, let me get it out here. And I've had a couple of examples because I have a chat room in my show. I'm on WFMU, and there's a chat room that goes along with the show while you're live. And I had the experience with a friend whose music I played, and he hadn't really done anything behind his release. And people in the chat room started asking who it was, and next thing you know, somebody posted the link, and then people were downloading the music, and it was so gratifying for me to see that actually works. If you put it out there and people respond to it.
So we'll be back. We'll be talking one more time with our friend Gina Frary Bacon about being part of what helps bring music to new listeners. Stick around, y'all. It's 94.9 The Palm. Hanging out with y'all on the deep dive this morning, joined by Gina Frary Bacon. She is an important part of helping bring new music to new listeners out of the Nashville community. And you have a couple of different cool radio shows where you help make that happen.
I do. I have two. I don't know how it happened, but somehow I have two shows on WFMU's Give the Drummer radio stream. And one is Big Planet Noise. I do that on Monday nights with Bob Irwin. And it's basically his music collection that he pulls together. And I call myself the magician's assistant. I do a lot of the background stuff and sort of keep things, on the path. And then my show with the Nashville artists is called Someday Matinee. and that's on Saturday afternoons, and I stream live from my house these days.
And how can folks find any of these programs or listen to them from their homes?
If they go onto the WFMU website, on the landing page, they'll see Give the Drummer Radio is one of the streams, or if you type in Give the Drummer Radio schedule, they'll all come up. Or you can find my Facebook page. I have a Facebook page for Someday. It's called Someday Matinee with Gina Bacon on WFMU's Give the Drummer Radio, which is kind of a mouthful. And Big Planet Noise is also on the Give the Drummer stream as well.
Gina Bacon, thank you so much for joining us today on the Deep Dive on 94.9 The Palm.
Thank you so much for having me, Sloane. I love talking to you.
My pleasure, me as well. Stick around, y'all. Lots more music on the way at 94.9 The Palm.